That's
We
right.
stand up to our ego.
Gotta approach it that way.
Right. See our mighty companions out enjoying this beautiful day, and the perfect people in the room, right?
Yes.
Right. The perfect people in the room, right?
Yes.
That's what I was thinking. That the perfect people are in the room.
Here today.
Absolutely. Those of you on Facebook Live, I want to thank you for tuning in. We have a nice group of mighty companions that tune in every week all over the world online. And I want to welcome you to the Course in Miracles. And I'm Earl Purdy. And I'd love to have opportunity to remember the truth together. Absolutely. Before we go back out and do something that we really need to remember the truth about. I know, that's right. Absolutely. So I'd like to ask you to take a breath right now. We're going to allow ourselves to get centered. And I'd like you to do something that you may have already done. But I'd like you to ask yourself, why am I here? Why did I choose to come today? You know, besides the fact that somebody might have drugged you, but besides that, why am I here today? What is it that I'd like to come out of this? What is the purpose of this? What is it for? One thing the Course in Miracles teaches, it says before you do anything in any situation, that you should stop and ask yourself, what is the purpose? What am I doing this for? And you would be amazed at how many things you probably would decide not to do. You really would. You'd be stunned. You know, you saw somebody, you were attracted to them, and then you ask yourself, okay, what do I want to come out of this? What am I interested in this for? What am I trying to accomplish? And then you'll find out real quick where you're coming from. So, anybody here for the first time? Oh, well, welcome. Okay. Let me give you the guidelines to the course, because I know how it can be when you come to a place for the first time. The Course in Miracles is a book about how to let go of the blocks to the awareness of love's presence. Basically, it's about how do I get past any blocks to love? How do I get past any blocks to happiness? And then it says that if you want to be able to hear what it's saying, it has some guidelines. And the guidelines for the Course in Miracles is that you need not believe it. You need not believe it. You need not accept it. You need not welcome it. Some of the ideas you may actively resist. Okay, I might say some things you go, I resist that. Some of the ideas from A Course in Miracles you might find hard to believe. Some of it might be hard to believe. Some of it might be hard to believe. It also says some of the ideas from A Course in Miracles might be startling. You might hear something that's startling. And it says you're not being asked to judge and analyze the ideas at all, even though that's what we're usually going to do. Because it says if you will use the ideas, then the ideas will show you that the ideas are true. So if I use the ideas, because the Course in Miracles is basically saying that we actually have the power to have peace in every situation, no matter what the situation is. All we have to remember is one thing. Like right now, you may think you're reacting to me, but you're not really reacting to me. You're reacting to your interpretation of me. You're reacting to the meaning that you're giving to this moment. And it's the meaning that you give to everything that's happening in your life that determines how you feel. So people think their feelings of happiness or unhappiness is coming from whether or not they have that house, that car, that career situation, that weight situation, whatever situation they think on the outer needs to change in order for them to be happy. But the Course in Miracles teaches that everything in the physical world is neutral. It's an event. all we're doing, we're just watching events and watching situations. You may see a person, and you see that person, and you are thrilled. It could be somebody else that could see that exact same person, and they want to run as fast as they can in the opposite direction. Same person. What's the difference? It's what I'm telling myself about that person. One person told themselves something about that person when they saw it that made them want to get away from them. Another person gave themselves a meaning of that person that made them want to move toward it. So the way that you're feeling about anything is ultimately coming from the meaning and the interpretation that you're giving to that situation. I don't care if you don't have enough money to pay your rent. How you're reacting to that is coming from the meaning you're giving to that. So the Course in Miracles says at the point that you have peace of mind is at that point that you can hear your higher power, you can hear your inner guidance, you can hear love, you can hear the source. But most people never hear the voice for God according to the Course. Do you know why? Because they're only listening to their own voice. They're only listening to their own judgments and meanings based on what they've experienced in the past. So they're so busy being in some type of fear or conflict or analytical process or trying to figure it out, because that's the definition of an adult, the way that our culture does it. Is the definition of an adult as somebody who's autonomous and self-sufficient and can handle everything on their own. So we're actually taught the more we just go to ourselves for wisdom, and that means the more we go to our past learning and experience for wisdom, then somehow that's the hallmark of maturity. But suppose nothing that you learned in the past was really based in the truth, really. Then going to your own wisdom is going back to the exact learning that's producing the situation that you're unhappy in right now. I'll say that one more time. If you're miserable, it's coming from your own learning. It's coming from your own choices, and it's coming from your own decisions.
I agree.
Right?
Yes.
Okay, so you going to you when you're unhappy is not the actually smartest thing to do. If your record in relationship absolutely sucks, and you choose wrong partners over and over again, common sense will tell you the next time you're attracted to somebody, you need to slow down. Because you know that your chooser is broken. How? Because I recreate the same situation over and over again. But what the ego, which is the mind, the part of the mind that doesn't know the truth, what it does is it tells you, what the issue isn't your thinking. The issue isn't the way you look at relationships. The issue is you just haven't found the right person. It doesn't say, maybe you got a perception of relationships and there's something in your mind and your consciousness that needs to be shifted. It'll just say, the other person was the problem, so all I need to do is just find another person. And then when I get this new person, everything's going to be all right. It had nothing to do with me, even though I'm the common denominator in every relationship I've ever had that's ever disappointed me. I'm the one that's there, but it's not me. It's nothing to do with me whatsoever. Oh, I know, I'm dissatisfied with my job. I hate my job. Okay, I just need to go get another job. It couldn't possibly be, I don't have the correct perception of my job, or I don't have the correct perception of my coworkers, or I don't have the correct perception of this situation. It's just as soon as I get another situation, then I'll be happy. So we're going to talk about, in the Course in Miracles, a section today that's called Seeking and Finding, which is, I think, is awesome. It's on page 223 in the text. It's in chapter 12, Seeking and Finding, section 4, on page 223. Those of you online on Facebook Live, my mighty companions, it's great to be here and to have you online. We've got a nice group of people from all over the world that's checking us out. Wow. Do you know that something like 2,000 or 3,000 people check out these classes and these videos? That I've had over 1 million views. I'm saying that because when you teach something like this is like saying with anything else you had 300 million views. When you talk about stuff like spiritual stuff, Course in Miracles, metaphysics, New Thought, you know, that's not as popular as the average football game. So I'm glad that, and it's the Spirit that sends the people. And so whoever comes to my class, I always look at it like, oh, this is who the universe sent today. This is who the Spirit sent today. So I never know how many people are going to show up, who's going to show up. I do this full time. I've been doing it full time for over 30 years. I trust that I'm sustained by the love of God. Because any other way to me doesn't make much sense, because if I don't know about you, but it's like if we don't realize you can't depend on the external by now to take care of you, you really haven't been paying much attention. Those days of getting hired by a company and staying 30 years, that's not happening anymore. I don't know how to break that to people, but that ain't happening. We actually have, in a sense, we've come full circle, where it started out with small businesses and small entrepreneurs and people having their own situation and their own talents that they make available to people and then be compensated by that. That's really where it's all headed. See, nobody can lay me off.
For real.
Yeah, nobody, I'm not going to worry about somebody saying, well, Purdy, you laid off today. You know, that ain't happening with me. I've been self-employed for 3 decades. And I would be a nervous wreck if I didn't have a belief in a higher power. Yes. Because the people come and go. Yes. As much as I love you, as much as you love me, as much as you see benefit through this, you're going to come and you're going to go. Because everything in time ends in time. Everything that begins in time ends in time. There's nothing you're going to have in time that's not going to end. Nothing. I can find anybody here that can tell me anything that was born in time. That's the key word that they can say is going to be forever. So it's not about trying to make the impermanent permanent. It's about being so in touch with your power, your creativity, your connection to love, your connection to source, your ability to receive guidance, that you can lead a guided life. See, I want to be guided. I know I can make up stuff that I think is going to make me happy and then pursue it, which is what the average person does. They wake up in the morning, they think of what's going to make them happy, and then they assign roles to everybody they know who are supposed to contribute to that happiness. Say they are not supported if the people they didn't even ask if they wanted to play the role don't want to play the role. And then they go after it thinking it's going to make them happy. And in most cases, and in many cases, they achieve that goal, and they actually get that situation, circumstance, or job, and before they can let themselves enjoy one friggin' day, they're already thinking about the more. I'm not in this house 2 months before I'm thinking about the next house I want. I'm not in this car 5 minutes before I'm thinking about the next, because the Course in Miracles teaches that our idol, it says, our idol is the word more. We idolize and worship more. Right. It's always got to be more. Right. More joy, more house, more money, more this. Or it's for some people to be special. It has to be more pain, more upset. But it's got to be more. So the Course divides our mind into saying that we have a part of our mind that believes that we're separate and different. And it defines this part of the mind as a part of the mind that experiences fear or anger or conflict. And then it says there's another part of our mind that is focused on truth, that is focused in love, that is totally aware, that is free, that's connected to source. And it calls that part of the mind the Holy Spirit, which is our loving right mind. So the Course in Miracles is basically only talking about love or fear. And I say this over and over again. Why? Because the book says the way that you change your mind and allow yourself to get a new belief system is through repetition of the new idea that you want to accept as true for you. It's not through thinking that you're going to have enough information that you're going to get it. It says that's not the answer. The answer is the once that you hear what you want to believe, that, and if it's the truth, you want to repeat it, you want to remember it, you want to use it. So it says the first step is hearing it without believing that you need to believe it. So the first step is I'm going to say some things and you don't have to believe it. And you know why? Because the correctness or the truth of it has nothing to do with your belief. If you don't believe something, and I'm going to say this again. If you don't believe something, it doesn't mean it's not true. Because you don't agree with something doesn't mean it's not true. That's just your opinion. And that's your right. And I shouldn't be standing in front of the class if everybody needs to agree with me. But what I'm doing is presenting that the Course in Miracles is saying, you are loved. You don't have to make it. You don't have to get it. It's actually what you are. You are love. You are spirit. You are powerful. You are whole. You are complete. You are loved and you are loved. You are guided. You didn't create yourself. That you might have a perception of your creator that you learned as a child that was rooted in some form of fear and guilt and anger. And because of that, you may be turned off to the idea of God or that idea of it being a male or whatever. All right? And the Course in Miracles is saying, and I'm saying to you, don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. Just because you don't like the concept of God that you may have learned, that doesn't mean that you weren't created and you don't have a creator and you don't have the ability to tap into that creator. So that's a very important thought to just think about. When you say you don't believe in God, what most people are saying to me is, I don't believe in the idea of God that I've heard and learned about.
It's true.
That's what they're really saying. Mm-hmm. You know, because the Course in Miracles definition of an atheist is very interesting. The Course in Miracles definition of an atheist, guess what it is? Anybody that thinks they are alone. And anybody that thinks that they're on their own, alone, do not have the support of the universe, do not have the support of spirit, and they're here on their own, that's an atheist. It's not somebody that necessarily goes, I don't believe in God. God doesn't care and I don't either.
That's a cute answer.
Well, it's the truth, because everybody has a right to their opinion. So I don't have to get offended, I don't have to defend, I don't have to try to convince you that you should. Because there could be a person right over there that goes, you know, I learned an incorrect perception of God. I would like another perception of spirit. And I know I got issues. Would you be willing to help me get past those blocks? I'd rather spend all my time with that person than the person who has no interest whatsoever and thinks I'm crazy. But our ego, the part of us that wants to keep us in conflict, does just the opposite. It goes right to the person that's resisting you the most and wants to convince them to change their mind.
Nice.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So a fear-based mind operates differently from a love-based mind. A mind that thinks it's guilty or separate, the Course says, acts different from a mind that believes it's one and connected. And so the very first sentence in that paragraph says, the ego, the mind that is afraid, the mind that thinks it's separate, the mind that thinks it's guilty, the ego, is certain that love is dangerous. I'm going to take it slow. All you need is one sentence of the Course that you work consistently to have miracles happen. That's why it's called A Course in Miracles. It's not about how much I cover. It's about, can you remember one thing you heard today that impacted you? And if you were to walk out of here remembering one thing that the Course in Miracles said, that'd be enough. So I'm not interested in speed. I'm interested in, can we hear it? All right? Because believe it or not, do you know it's not an accident that you're here, because there are no accidents. Even if it looked like it was somebody else's idea, it wasn't an accident. So a fearful mind is certain that love is dangerous. So there's a part of the mind that's always telling you it's dangerous to fall in love. It's dangerous to love people. It's dangerous to connect with people. You love somebody, you might get hurt. Anybody familiar with that? It was the people I loved that hurt me. Like I tell people all the time, I've never had strangers hurt me. I'll put it this way. I've never hurt myself through strangers the way I've hurt myself through people who said they loved me and weren't strangers. It wasn't strangers. It wasn't a stranger who professed her love to me and I professed my love for her and it didn't work out. My parents weren't strangers. My sisters and brothers weren't strangers when we were upset. If you think about it, most of the pain that you probably ever have experienced has come through someone you knew. Not a stranger. I know, and there are always exceptions. So let me admit, anything I say, there will always be the person that'll go, well, that's not true about me. Okay, right? We're going to say that. We're going to just get that out in the open. Okay? That there's always going to be someone who sees it differently. That's the beauty of it, is that if you look at a diamond, it has many facets. And just because I'm looking at my fist from this angle, does that mean what you're seeing, that that angle is wrong? No, you're seeing my fist at an angle I don't see, but just as valid. So I don't have to be wrong for you to be right, and you don't have to be wrong for me to be right, and vice versa. So just because someone says something different from you or takes a different perception from you, you don't have to try to make sure what they're saying is wrong so that what you're saying is right. You could be looking at it just from another angle that's equally helpful. So if you add your viewpoint to my viewpoint, we actually have a much better picture of what the whole fist looks like. So don't always look at it like if I say something, you got to prove what I'm saying is wrong because you're seeing it from another point of view. That limits your point of view. So the Course says, now the part of your mind that believes that love is dangerous, it says, it never puts it that way. On the contrary, everyone that believes that fear and separation is salvation. Everyone that believes that specialness is salvation. I'm giving you Course in Miracles definitions of the ego. He says, seems to be intensely engaged in the search for love. Right? It says, you know, all of us who are in this fearful state, broken into by periods in which we think we're not, he says, we're intensely engaged in the search for love. Some of y'all sitting up here right now, checking out other people in the room. They might show up. You never would have known. A class with a weird black guy. You know, the love of my life would have showed up there. Thank God. So the ego, which is the part of the mind that believes it's fearful and separate, says there's a part of your mind that encourages the search for love very actively. I'm on every dating site in town. Okay. And then it says, but it makes one proviso: don't find it. So if I don't love myself, if I haven't learned to know who I really am, if I don't have self-realization, if I'm not connected to spirit, the Course says an insecure, fearful, guilty person who doesn't believe that they're enough, who think they're separate from God and separate from love, they're going to have two qualities. They're always looking for love, but it doesn't seem like they ever find it. So when your fear in you, or the part of you that doesn't know the truth, is guiding you, he says the way you can tell is you're always looking for love in all the wrong places. You're always looking for something and you never look like you actually find what you're looking for. Then the next sentence says, so the dictates of the part of you that doesn't love you, the dictates of the part of you that does not love you, it says that its dictates can be summed up simply as what? Seek and do not find. I'm seeking for happiness and I don't seem to find it. It looks like everything I'm looking for, I never seem to find it. If you're a person and you're saying that to yourself, you are being guided by your ego. You're being guided by the part of your mind that does not know the truth and is not linked to your true self, your divine self, your God self, your spiritual self. So if you're always intensely searching for happiness and nothing ever really satisfies you, and as soon as you get something, you're dissatisfied and it looks like you want it and you never seem to get it, the Course in Miracles says, then you're being guided by the part of your mind that is not listening to your true self. That's how you can tell when you're not listening to your true self. How can you tell when you're not listening to your true self? You're all about seek and what? Do not find. Then the next sentence says, this is the one promise the part of you that can't stand you holds out to you. The part of you that fears, the part of you that thinks you're not enough, the part of you that thinks you're separate. I don't know about you, but I don't meet a lot of people who, when they were born, they grew up in the household and all they was hearing was how perfect they are, how wonderful they are, how there's nothing missing, you're the most loved thing on earth. And you know what I'm saying? Usually children don't come from parents that themselves are free of issues. Right? So if I don't love myself and I'm a parent, I ain't going to love my kid. I'm going to mistreat my kid. I'm going to abuse my kid. My kid is an extension of me and I'm nothing. So I'm not going to give my kid the kind of love my kid deserves. So some people didn't grow up hearing that they were perfect and whole and complete and totally completely loved and supported. So it's a possibility that some part of you might have some insecurities. I know there's an exception. There's always an exception. So I just want to be clear. I know somebody's saying, not me. All right, that's okay. That's all right. Denial is not a river in Egypt. Denial, get it? Okay, okay. The Course in Miracles says that some people are only happy because of denial. That they are not honest with themselves about any part of themselves. And by lying to themselves, that's how they keep any level of peace. It's never honestly looking at themselves. And so do you know that there's a fail-safe way for you not to deceive yourself? And that fail-safe way is to look at your environment. To look at the people in your life, what do they like? The situations in your life, what do they like? You're getting a good idea of what's going on in your consciousness, whether you think so or not. So if you think you're the coolest person in the world and you're surrounded by a-holes, you might want to take a look at your consciousness. If you think you got your stuff together, but you're worried about your prosperity, your health, your relationships all the time, you're dissatisfied, there's something within your own consciousness that you need to take a look at. So you can tell yourself all day long that you're perfect, and you are in your truest identity, but you may not be in your thinking about yourself and your thinking about others. And don't forget, your physical perception witnesses to your beliefs. Your physical perception witnesses to your beliefs because what? It's your beliefs that's determining how you are defining what you're looking at. Say it again. It's your beliefs that's defining what you're looking at. So it's the beliefs that are determining your physical perception of things. And you live in your own bubble of perception because you're only seeing your thoughts surrounding you. But outside of the bubble of your perception, that's where reality is. So reality and the truth is outside of belief. See, the truth is true whether you believe it or not. And what's not true can always be changed. And that's the beauty of it, is that we live in a place where the one thing we can count on is what? Change. So that means whatever's going on in your experience, it can change. Not only can it can change for the better. The Course says most people are afraid of change because our first experience of change was from that infinitely love, connected, aware state with our source to what the hell's going on? So therefore, it's understandable that when someone says change, we go, ooh, I'm not really up on that, right? So then it says, this is the one promise the fear part of your mind holds out to you, and the promise it will keep, which is seek and don't find. Because the fearful mind pursues its goal with fanatic insistence. I'm fanatical. I got to have that love. I got to have it. I got to have love. I got to have it. And the fearful part of the man's judgment, though severely impaired, is completely consistent. Yeah, I have consistently impaired perceptions of everything. I am consistently wrong about the way I'm looking at things. I am consistently feeling afraid. I consistently feel separate. I consistently feel guilty, broken into by periods in which I go to the movie. So, See, a lot of people, to me, they miss the humor of A Course in Miracles. To me, it's like a joke book from God. It is hilarious. All right, okay. So what did the first paragraph tell us? That there's a part of me that thinks love is dangerous, but it doesn't say to me love is dangerous. But it always encourages me to look for love and look for specialness. But it also makes sure I never successfully find the love that I'm looking for. And I pursue this goal of love outside of myself with fanatical insistence, with impaired judgment, which explains my relationships. Okay, that was the first paragraph. Any questions or comments about what that paragraph said? Yes.
No.
Okay, you got all right. All right. All right. I like that. Thumbs up. You can stay. Okay. All right.
Hey,
okay.
Raj,
Yes.
Wayne Dyer called it always striving, never arriving.
Always striving, never arriving.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that I realized, see, I'm at this point after 40 years. I'm a slow learner. My family asked me if I'm still reading that same book.
You ain't finished it yet.
You've been reading that book for 39 years. We just want to know the issue that we need to... It really is just the opposite. The more I read it, the easier and the more peaceful and the more loving my life becomes. So it makes sense to me to keep doing something that works rather than to stop doing something that works to find something else, which is what I used to do. I had a black belt in reading spiritual metaphysical books. And I would just, here's the next one. Here's the next one. Here's the next one. Here's the next one. I was like, have you read this book? No, have you read this book? Well, have you read this book? Well, have you... And see, that's fine as long as you haven't found your path.
Yeah.
I encourage everybody to keep doing that when they haven't found their path.
Yeah.
Or right now their path is really speaking to them. So it's not about falling in love with the road sign, which sometimes we do. But if something's working for you, if you sought and you found, then your goal is to master it. So I want to master being loving. I want to master having correct perception. I want to master my ability to communicate with spirit. So the Course in Miracles is my primary spiritual path. I'm not seeking for anything else. But it's not for everybody. So therefore, there are many paths to the truth. And when you come up on your path, you will know it because you will stick to it even if you have resistance. Even the resistance won't stop you. Because it's a calling. This called me, you know. And so the Course in Miracles says, oh, can you hit your hand up in the back? Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say if you could talk a little bit more about why the ego finds love to be dangerous.
The ego finds love to be dangerous for the reason I mentioned at the beginning, that it looks like I've been hurt or disappointed in love in the past, or I've lost the love, or I've been judged, condemned, or criticized by someone that said they love me, or I've been betrayed by somebody that says they love me, or it started out seeming like it's the most, and I'm not talking about just romantic relationships. When I talk about special relationships, I'm talking about any relationship that you have with anything that you could put that thing before your peace. Anything you make more important than your peace is your special relationship, is your idol. Anybody that you put before your peace is an idol. Because the Course teaches you can't give what you don't have. And if you don't have any peace, you can't give anybody any peace. So to sacrifice your peace and happiness for someone else never works. Because I can't give you what I don't have. So when it talks about love, it's talking about those experiences that we've had of wanting to join and connect that seem like they hurt or disappointed us some way with someone that we said we loved or someone we expected to love us. Anybody, okay, is that helpful?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. And the Course in Miracles says that never was love. And that upsets people. I did. I loved her. I did. I loved her with all my heart. What are you doing? And then the Course says, well, what was love can never change. If I really love you, nothing can change that.
Yeah.
I might change the form of the relationship we're in. I may no longer be your boyfriend or your business partner or whatever. I'll see that form doesn't seem to work for us. But our relationship, us wanting love for each other, wanting peace for each other, and wanting happiness for each other, that would not change if it was love. If it's specialness, then it changes. If it's specialness, then once that form isn't happening, the relationship isn't happening. My love for you isn't happening. So it was never love. It was specialness. You were making me feel special, and it's not happening anymore.
Yeah.
God won't make me more special than the rest of you, but you will. You see what I'm saying? Somebody's going to treat me better than anybody else. Somebody's going to single me out for all of their attention, exclusively. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Seek and do not find.
Seek and do not find. So the Course in Miracles says, but the search the frightened man undertakes is therefore what? Bound to be defeated. He said a person that's rooted in fear is not succeeding in finding love. A fear-based man finds fear. But he calls, the Course, I love it, the Course says, what we call love as separate beings, where we don't look out for each other as a whole. The Course says it calls that a special form of fear. That what we call love is a fear we like a roller coaster. Like people go on a roller coaster ride and it's fearful, but they love it. Doesn't that sound like your relationship? Up and down and up and down. And what's so cool about it? Or the analogy that our whole life is like a roller coaster ride. And it says some people on the roller coaster ride, you've seen them. It's a dangerous roller coaster to you, and the person in front of you be going, yeah, yeah, and you go, ah! Okay, that's us. That's called physical human life. Some of us on the merry-go-round, and we are like, wow, you know, the ups and downs and the interesting things and the crazy stuff and all the stuff that's going on. And then there's some people that are terrified every inch of the ride. But what is it that you notice about a roller coaster? You always end up back where you started, which is where you weren't afraid at all. Yeah. That's what happens to us on the earth ride. You're on the earth roller coaster right now. You're going to come back to where you started, but you're going to call it death. That's the only thing that's happened. You loop back around to wherever you were before you ever entered here. Some people begin to realize that they're on the roller coaster. You better not jump off it while it's doing it. So the only thing I'm in charge of is how I see the ride. I made the decision to get on it. That was my choice. But once I made the decision and it took off, now I better not jump off. But the way I enjoy the ride is up to what? The way I'm seeing the ride. And me never forgetting I'm not really in danger, even though it looks like it. That's the attitude we're supposed to be taking toward life, period.
Thank you.
Never forget that you are safe because you are loved and you have an infinite creator and you are an eternal being having a human experience. You are an eternal being having a human experience, and in order to take it seriously, you forgot about it. And so now you think you are this body that's here that only has a certain number of days to live, gets old and dies. And of course that's going to be depressing. You know, I am not these pants. No. And you are not your body.
Thank you. Yeah.
The same analogy. You follow, if I told you I was my pants, y'all go, and I'm saying if you tell me you're your body, I'm going, That's the way I'm looking at people now who've forgotten their spiritual identity to the point that they think this is all they are. I know that that's a person I need to be very aware of if I choose to get into an intimate, close relationship. Because they're going to have all the beliefs that all people do who've forgotten their spiritual identity. Which is going to be, they're going to project and they're going to blame and they're going to think you're the one that's responsible for the way that they're feeling and their happiness. An unconscious being always blames and projects on others, and a conscious being takes responsibility for their experience of their experience.
Thank you.
So if you want to have a peaceful relationship, you form relationships with people who think they're responsible for their happiness, not the ones who think you are. Then you're happy and they're happy. Y'all get together and y'all happy together. Some of y'all have been around long enough to remember that. So So the search that the ego undertakes is therefore bound to be defeated, and since this part of your mind also teaches that it is your identification, the guidance of your fear mind, the guidance of your world mind, the guidance of the part of you that thinks it's a body, leads you to a journey which must end in perceived self-defeat. If I think I'm separate, I've forgotten my spiritual identity, then I'm going to always end up believing something is missing and that I'm defeated in some kind of way. Then it says, for the ego, the part of you that is afraid and thinks it's separate and doesn't know what love is, he says, that part of the mind cannot love. A person that's afraid of love cannot love. What? A person that's afraid of love cannot love. Because if I'm afraid of love, I'm going to withdraw from whoever is loving me, and I'm going to be attracted to the abuser and the person that does not appreciate me, does not acknowledge me, and does not treasure me. That will be the person that I'm giving all of my time and energy. And everyone that is loving me, kind to me, appreciating me, conscious, I don't quite have time for them. Because it's taking up all my time to focus on where I'm afraid of love. So if you can't take a compliment, it's telling me a lot about how good you'll be as a receiver. See, it's interesting little things you can do when you start to wake up to save yourself time. If I acknowledge you and I tell you that you're a beautiful person, and it's an honor to know you and be around you, and you go, okay, you full of stuff. You say that to everybody. And I say, that's why you can believe me. Yeah. Because you're not the only one that I say is valuable and beautiful and worthwhile. If you were the only one that I ever saw that way, you should be afraid. Because that's specialness. That's not love. That means it's conditional. And I'm going to continue to see you that way only if you act right. Hello? And so the Course in Miracles says to us that the fearful mind cannot love, so in its frantic search for love, actually it's seeking what it's afraid to find. If I believe love hurts me, if I'm afraid of love, then I'm actually looking for what I'm afraid to find. So I'm saying I want it, but when it shows up, it brings up all my fear, all of my suspicion, and all of my doubt. So what am I going to do if you're telling me how beautiful I am and how treasured I am and how valuable I am? You're going to say, okay, what is he up to? What's your game, buddy? Now, I know what you want. I know why you're doing this. You want my communication device. That's what it is. What's called the body, the communication device. You know, it's something you want to get from me. So when a person responds to me like that, you know what I think? Thank you, God, for saving me a lot of time. I do not want to pursue this person at any level for an intimate relationship. They've already shown me that they respond to love with fear. And if they were truly conscious, they would, two things. They could probably sense my sincerity, and they would be so centered that they wouldn't be worried about me hurting them anyway. So there wouldn't be any reason for them not to receive me, because they don't believe that their sense of self-value and worth has anything to do with me anyway. So what they have to lose by receiving my love. See, only if you're fearful and insecure are you so into the state of mind that you got to think that the outcome of the relationship is totally guaranteed that it's going to be exactly the way you want, or you're not even open to the possibility of exploring what could happen. And if you're looking at that person in terms of who you've been in relationship with in the past, that's delusional, because they're not the person you were with in the past. So you owe them the right to give them the benefit of the doubt until they prove otherwise. Because this could be a person that actually has integrity and really cares and really mean what they're saying. Just because your last boyfriend was a bomb or your last girlfriend was a bomb, then you're projecting that this person is going to do the same thing to me the last person did. I can't trust this new business partner because a fraud happened with my last one. Well, this isn't your last one. But they'll become your last one if that's all you focus on. Because you were recreated, but it's being recreated because of your belief system and not necessarily because that person is someone you can't trust. And since I'm not making my happiness dependent on you anyway, and I'm going to take responsibility for my decision to interact with you, then you can't hurt me anyway, no matter if you are a crook. It's only if I'm trying to get that I'm so worried about that. See, if I'm getting off on loving you, I was saying to somebody the other day, you know, it's like if I'm getting off on loving you, then that is the reward. It isn't I'm loving you and now what you're going to give me back. Actually, I am thrilled because of the way I feel about you. That's giving me a feeling of satisfaction. Just to let the love for you come through me, because what comes through me has an effect on me. So my desire to love you all is giving me, oh my God, y'all feel so good. Loving y'all and appreciating y'all feel so good. Oh God, I'm having a heartgasm. Y'all give me, I got a great big heart on just being up here with you all. It's my heart is. That's what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? Now, you may not be feeling that at all. Unless you're giving it to me.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, if you're giving me love, you're going to say, hey, Earl, I get it. But if you're sitting there waiting for me to give it to you, and you're waiting for everybody to give it to you, and then when they give it to you, then you're going to give it back, you may never know what love feels like. And that's what the fear-based person does. A fear-based person is always waiting for everybody to prove something to them first, and then when you prove it to me, then I'm going to love you.
Yeah.
A conscious being would never be attracted to you.
It's true.
Because they want love now. They don't want to spend the next 6 months trying to convince you to trust them. They know that the future is not promised to anybody on the physical plane. I want people who are confident enough, centered enough, that we can give and receive love and appreciation. And that's not the same as sex. Obviously, you know you can have sex and love is nowhere to be found. So we know there's not an automatic connection between sex and love. So when I say love everybody, I'm not talking about having sex with everybody.
Agreed.
Okay, because you can't have sex with everybody.
It's impossible.
I tried it in the 80s and never.
What about the 70s?
The 70s I did. And I just missed the people in this room. Some of y'all wasn't born. So.
More, please.
I just think sex is such an interesting distraction. Or it can be a means to experience another way that love can be experienced, or it can be the greatest distraction that you ever give yourself. It's either or, you know. And it's amazing all the things that, for instance, women brought into my life when I was able to get past the body. It was just, it was amazing. The conversation, the communication, what they had to offer, all of it. All of it, because when you're fear-based, you focus on form and the outer, and you're not really that concerned with what is the inner and the consciousness.
Right.
You know. So sex is neutral.
Right.
It's neutral, just like everything else is. It's what you want it to be. It can be something you give yourself a lot of innocence and connectedness with, or it can be something that you give yourself a lot of guilt and conflict. But the dumbest thing you can do with it is make it the symbol of love. Which we do a lot of times. When I say we, whenever I say we, it only applies to you if it applies to you. Everything I say, it only applies to you if it applies to you. Is that fair enough? So when I say stuff like that, you know it doesn't. You know, especially anything I said is less than perfect. You know, it doesn't apply to you. So when you're able to realize that every sexual, sensual experience you've ever had only took place in your mind, even though it looked like your body was involved, now you know where good sex is located. Because you are the sender and the receiver. You're the one that's giving yourself the feeling that you're having an intimacy, not the other person. So you could have that feeling whether they were physically present or not. And I would rather have sex I can have all the time. And if the body is required, I can't have it all the time. Think about that for a second. Then I got to try to arrange stuff. We got to get together. And then I got to do it just right.
So much work.
It's just so much work, you know. But if I could just give myself orgasmic feelings of joy and spirit and connectedness just by the thought of you, that I can have that anytime. I can give you love anytime. Remember, anything that's real is something you can have all the time. And anything that's not real is something you can't. So if you want to be able to define, according to the Course, what's real and what's not, what's always available to you at any time, and what are the things that are not. You name something that's not, then you are dealing with what the Course calls an illusion. How do I know a car is an illusion? Not because I can't get in it and drive down the street, but because it probably won't be here 300 years from now. Hell, we may not be here 30 years from now. We don't wake up.
12 years. Now they're saying
It's so funny. It's like, la 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 la. Come on, gang. Let's go over the cliff together. I know. I won't look at it. If I don't look at the train when I'm in the middle of the railroad track, the train won't hit me. That's the way we are. Especially people in New Age and New Thought. Their thing is, I just won't be aware of it. And that way it will never touch me. So if you dare bring up what I need to be aware of, you're being negative and you're making it real. Okay, all right. Now, if I'm aware of myself as an eternal spiritual being, then I can afford to not at all be concerned.
Right.
But as long as I think I'm a regular human being, it might be to my advantage to kind of be conscious of what's going on in my environment.
Yes.
Because the same person to tell you that's an illusion we don't need to be worried about is the same person that will tell you 3 hours from now they're hungry and like to have dinner. And I'm going, wait a minute now. If this is all such an illusion, why are you eating? Okay, wait a minute now. Are you picking and choosing your illusions? Yeah, you choosing what you're going to give reality to and not. You know, oh, okay. Do you need clean air right now, as far as you think? Something, you know, you still think you need to breathe, like, within the next minute? Well, then you might want to have air that's clean. You will surely reach a point in your spiritual evolution that none of those things matter. But now, I might want to be more conscious of what I'm putting in my body. I might want to be more conscious in how I treat my environment. I might want to do all of those things while at the same time working on remembering my true identity that's beyond all of it.
That's right.
Those are all expressions of love anyway.
If you, well, what I found for me personally, John, was the more I began to love myself, the more I just naturally took care of myself better. That it wasn't, I had to go, okay, now, Earl, make sure that you get enough rest. And Earl, you make sure that you eat differently. Or Earl, you know, it's like, no, just out of caring about myself, knowing my body was a temporary vehicle, just like my car has maintenance that it needs, my body has maintenance that I think it needs also. So as you love yourself, you would not let yourself be in a relationship where someone is constantly judging you, condemning you, criticizing you, not being loved. You just wouldn't. The Course says that one of the things that happen when you start to spiritually awaken is you can't tolerate discomfort the way you used to.
That's right.
That is, you know, many people think if they get spiritual, they can suffer better, longer, and more peaceful. I'm spiritual now, so I can stay in this horrible situation much better now because I'm spiritual. And the Course says it's just the opposite. That when you start to wake up, you don't tolerate things that you used to tolerate. You become more impatient to have true love, not more patient. So the Course then says, the ego cannot love, and in its frantic search for love is actually seeking what it's afraid to find. The search for love is inevitable because the fear part of your mind, the ego, is part of your mind, and because of its source, your ego, the part of you that doesn't always think you deserve love, is not totally split off. If your ego was totally split off from your mind, if the part of you that fears was completely split off from your mind, you couldn't believe it at all. So it is your mind that believes in fear. It's your mind that gives existence to fear and separation. For it is your mind that believes in it. It's your mind that gives existence to it. And it is also your mind that has the power to deny the existence of fear and guilt and separation. And I'm the one that believes that I can't trust you. I'm also the one that can trust you. I'm the one that believes I could limit you, but I'm also the one that believes I can free you. I'm the one that can see you as being guilty and not enough. And I'm also the one that can see you as being whole and complete and beautiful. I can choose to do that, which the Course says you will surely do that when you realize exactly what the journey is on which your fear is setting you. In other words, he's saying that once you really see clearly where you are, then you're going to use the alternative. It's not until you get a clear picture about what's happening that you choose the alternative. So if you really see what you've done to you through not knowing the truth or not loving yourself or not knowing what love is, he says, then you will start to deny the part of you that causes you pain and unhappiness all the time. You won't be forcing yourself not to do the stuff that hurts you. You won't have to force yourself to stop doing what doesn't give you any peace or joy. He says, if you see clearly what you're doing to yourself, you are going to make the other choice. So people are only continuing to do the things that hurt them because they don't truly see what they're doing to themselves. Even if they say they see what they're doing to themselves. If they don't change it, they don't truly see what they're doing to themselves. So you don't have to worry about being motivated to move toward love once you recognize what fear has been doing. Yeah. And anger and guilt. You know, the more I love myself, then I'm not going to continue to be in relationships that are not evolutionary relationships. And what's an evolutionary relationship? An evolutionary relationship is a relationship that you're using for self-realization, that you're using for personal growth, that you're using for love, that you're using for joy. Not, I gotta work on my relationship. Punch in. I don't ever want to work on another relationship. I want to grow in one. I want to wake up in one. I want to share in one. But all that, all right, here I go. I think a spiritual path is a path where you take something that makes you miserable and you try to use it to make you happy.
That's right.
You know, I'm trying to turn misery into happiness. That's why I don't like you, so my spiritual work is to spend all my time trying to make myself like you. That's the spiritual path. Trying to take things I don't like and pretend that I like them. That's being spiritual. And so the Course is saying to us, no, if you truly see clearly what you are doing to yourself, then it doesn't mean you're going to keep doing it. If you see it clearly, you're going to move in the direction of what you truly want. So sometimes that's why it's important, I think, to be around people in situations that are representing that which you aspire to be. Because we have a tendency to surround ourselves with people like ourselves, and we forget that there's another way people can be. You're boring, all your friends boring, everybody you know boring. Then you think boring is normal. Right? And then you're around someone who has a zest for life, and they're excited about their life, and they're positive in what they're doing. They're there not for you to be a hater. They're there to show you that there's an alternative to the way you could be experiencing your life. So are you going to be the alternative? Or are you going to be just another example of the past? Are you going to take the metaphysical spiritual truth in your path that you're on to just try to have a better ordinary life? See, a lot of people go to spiritual classes and try to have self-realization, illumination, just so they can have a better ordinary life. Right? So I can finally get the job I want, the car I want, which is cool. There's nothing wrong with that. But there are other people that I think are also in my camp, and that is the camp that's saying, I want to be a part of the creation of something new. I want to be used by the universe and spirit for whatever the evolutionary aspect of whatever we are will go. I want to be a part of something pioneering, something original, something that takes love. I'm not studying this so I can make more money, even though making more money is okay. So I'm not one of these people that's putting down the material world. I'm just saying, me personally, I would like to be a part of something that's never been seen before, but it's incredibly loving and powerful.
Yes.
Right? So I want to come from the part of me that is love, so that when someone is offering me love, I will not run away from it.
Right.
I will see it, I will embrace it, and I will also be sharing it myself.
Right.
Which means then I could have it right then, right there.
Right. Thank you.
And when I find myself being attracted to people who are not interested in me, I try my best to stop. I ask Spirit to take that desire away from me. I don't go, well, how can I get this person to want to be with me in a certain way? Well, once I express my openness, then that's all I can do.
Right.
Right? Then I have to trust that whatever I'm experiencing with that person is as much as they want to experience with me. If I say you can do anything you want to with me, and then you say, well, I just want to shake your hand, then I have to assume that's all you really want to do with me. Right? But it was from the context of the freedom that I could find out what your limit was. Then I can meet you at your boundary, which is going to keep you really nice to me, because you don't feel threatened, you feel safe, you feel honored where you are, and what's going to happen? Your love's going to come out. And it's your love that I want. And so if honoring a boundary that you think you need would allow you to open your heart to me, then I'll stay exactly at that boundary that you have set forth, because I told you there doesn't necessarily have to be one. Because what I've learned about the universe, and the Course says it over and over again, what is yours? That which needs you just the way you are, where you are, will be sent to you. So however you are, there's someone that needs you exactly that way. And they will tell you that the way that you are is a blessing for them and a miracle for them. They won't be trying to change you. They will just be saying, be more you.
Be more you.
See, the people that I'm in close relationship, nobody's trying to change me anymore. Everybody that I'm in intimate relationship with in my life, they're just saying, be more you. But I didn't get that kind of relationship in my life until I accepted me. I had to accept myself as being okay just the way I am, because I noticed I always was until I got into a relationship. I'll be just skipping around, I'm just cool, everybody's cool with me. Then I get into a special relationship, and all of a sudden, well, Purdy, you need to do this different, and if you change this way, and this is unacceptable to me, and I was like, wait a minute, before I met you, I was cool. So what's easier, me change myself or get rid of you? And when I didn't love myself, it would be me change myself. And I'm going to try to hang on to you because I'm desperate. And I think if I don't have you, I'm not going to have love at all. You're the pipeline and you're blocked. Have you been with somebody that's like a hose, with somebody with their foot on it? The water wants to get through, but they got their foot on it. They're not letting their love come through to you because you got to be different than what you are. And then you got somebody over here that's a fire hose. And you're going, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So what I'm saying is that what's real is available. What's real appreciates. What's real will be there even in the form of the relationship shifts. As you love more, you will seek and you will find. Would you acknowledge yourself, Holy Spirit? So here it is. Come on now, give it to you. Yes. Yes. I needed to hear that. I'm the learner. I just want you to know I'm just as much of the learner as you are. So let's do the financial expression of appreciation. I really, really appreciate you all for sharing with me. Yeah. Did you hear anything that was helpful or supportive? Thank you, baby.
Thank you, sweetheart.
Those of you online, if you'd like to make a financial expression of appreciation, just go to my website, Earl Purdy, PURDY.com, earlpurdy.com. If you use Venmo, my email is earlpurdy@earlpurdy.com. I'm available for one-on-one personal sessions. One-on-one personal sessions called clarity sessions. If you're ready to get past some blocks once and for all, I bring my almost 40 years of experience with the course and teaching and my knowledge of astrology and numerology. I bring that all into our session so that you have clarity about how you can best use this time to get past some blocks. Go to my website. It explains it in detail. You can book right there. Tuesday night, 7 o'clock, Mountain Time. I do the Way Up Mastery on Facebook Live. The Way Up Mastery. It's another powerful teaching. Mountain Time. On the Earl Purdy page on Facebook, the Earl Purdy page. If you follow that page, then whenever I go live, you'll be notified. If you don't have Facebook and you're not on Facebook, you can still watch the live broadcast. You just go to www.facebook.com/Earl Purdy Live. Earl Purdy Live. Facebook.com/ and then you can watch whether you're on Facebook or not. And then I have tons of classes on my website you can watch at no charge, and 1,000 on YouTube. So I make what I do available regardless of your financial situation. If you really want to look at things another way, you got a ton of support. If you really do.
Thank you.
So one thing somebody heard today that they'd like to remember. Anybody, before I finish up right quick?
Ego is going to be fear, love, or find love dangerous.
Say it again.
The ego is going to find love dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah. The part of me that's been hurt is going to think love is dangerous, but I still need to try to get it. Then it's going to try to get me to look for it exactly where it's not coming to me. And the fact that I want it from who's not giving it to me is my way of getting in touch with I haven't really learned to love myself yet like I should.
I will find what I decide to seek.
Yeah, you're going to find what you decide to seek. And if I'm afraid of something, I don't want to find it. That's what's interesting. The Course says when you ask for something and you're afraid of it, the attainment of it is really not what you want. So if I say I want a relationship and then the thought of it terrifies me, you don't want one. And then when it doesn't show up, you'll go, why nobody's loving me? You're afraid of it. The universe doesn't want to give you what you, love doesn't want to give you what you fear, but fear will give you what you fear.
Right.
So the part of you that doesn't love you, it will give you a relationship, but it won't be no fun.
That's true.
Quantum.
I'm paraphrasing a little bit.
Okay.
The ego will consistently try to destroy you.
It's the part of our mind that believes that I don't even, there's some people, they don't even actually believe they deserve to be here. That they see themselves as so worthless that they don't think they even deserve to be here. And so that any voice that tells you that you are not worthy, that's the voice the Course defines as the ego. It's any voice that you have in your mind that tells you anything other than you deserve love. And if you make a mistake, you could have that mistake lovingly corrected. Okay, so any voice, like people tell me, well, how can I tell the difference when I'm listening to my ego or when I'm listening to the Holy Spirit? Well, one voice is going to be peaceful and giving you some form of peace, and it's all about union and connection and responsibility and oneness, and the other one's going to be the opposite of that. And then I realized that was the voice I was listening to most of the time. At first was the one that was telling me I didn't deserve love. And then I believed it, so I saw a world that validated it. But what I realized was that I was probably surrounded by love I didn't see, because I was only focusing on who validated the negative belief I had about myself.
It's my belief that gives it existence. It's my mind that gives it life.
That's right. What I'm seeing is what's going on in my own mind. So all I have to do is change my mind, which is easier than changing yours.
That's right. Yeah, I can enjoy this roller coaster.
You can
Knowing
enjoy.
that I'm safe and that I'm coming right back.
Yeah, you can enjoy this roller coaster called life. Instead of being like this, we could be, hi, hi, You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because you're going to come back around to where you started.
I'm going to paraphrase. So
Sure.
real love with another being, that being will want you to be more of who you are.
That's right. Y'all are going to have a common purpose. You know, I was telling someone the other day in counseling that if you leave one person to get with another person, and the only reason why you're getting with that other person is just because of the way you feel. If you be honest with yourself, that's the way you probably felt at first about the person that you're trying to get away from. There was a time when you were thrilled by them. There was a time you were turned on about being with them, or you wouldn't have gotten with them in the first place. So if you just go into the other person because of that, but not because you really see a real difference, which is a difference in purpose, and a difference in the way you're communicating and relating to each other and what the goal of the relationship is, then you're just exchanging one illusion for another illusion. And after a certain period of time, you'll find yourself projecting onto them exactly the same thing you're projecting onto the other person. So is this new person really different? Is this are you really choosing something? The Course says a change of mind is a radical change in purpose. And I thought that was interesting. A change of mind means your purpose has changed. So if you say, I want to change my mind, and he says to change your mind, how do you put it in the Course? To change your mind means you're ready to place your mind at the feet of true authority. See, so I haven't changed my mind until I've asked my higher self to be in charge of my life. At the part of me that loves me and knows that's what I deserve love. When I put that part of me in charge and then get rid of all of my blocks to being able to communicate with that part of me, that's my work. See, my spiritual work is getting rid of the blocks that keep me from communicating with the part of me that loves me. You know, and so until I'm ready to do that work, I'm not ever really making changes when I think I'm making changes. Deep.
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 Yes.
Deep. The part that loves you says seek and you will find. The part that loves me says seek and I will find. Say what? The part that loves me says seek and I will find. The part that loves me says seek and I will find right now. Bless you, mighty companion. Thank you for coming. I know you were Course in Miracles version. I hope I was gentle. Okay. I appreciate y'all. Hugs are available. Thank you so much. Love you, mighty companions.